Have you ever wished you could shoot one video and use it for both YouTube and Instagram without having to refilm everything? That's exactly what filming in OpenGate on the iPhone can do. So in this video, I'll show you the apps you can use to film in OpenGate, explain what it actually means, and share why it's useful for mobile creators. And if you stick to the end, as a bonus, I'll also show you how to edit the exact same shot in both a horizontal and vertical video. Now, before we get started, this video is not sponsored by any of these companies. I'm just genuinely interested in the new features and what these apps can do. And I also believe more people should know about it as it's pretty much new and can help streamline the content creation process. So what is OpenGate? Normally, when you shoot horizontally, it records in a 16:9 format, which is the standard for video and perfect for platforms like YouTube. And if you film vertically, it records in a 9:16 format, which works great for Instagram. If you create content for multiple social media platforms, you've probably had to film separate videos since reframing can be messy. When you shoot in OpenGate, it records a 4:3 format, which uses the full sensor. And that means you're capturing more image at the top and bottom, which you can later crop wide for YouTube or tall for Instagram Reels, or even leave it at a 4:3 if you like that classic vintage vibe look. Now, for mobile creators, that's a game changer because you only need to film once and then reframe the shot however you want in the edit without reshooting anything. So this is how it looks like shooting in OpenGate. I'm using the Pearla app, and I'm also using one of their film stocks, which is Visage. I frame myself in a way so that I can use it for vertical as well as horizontal content. And the best way to do that is to enable the grid lines, and I place myself between the two lines. This way I can use it for vertical content, and for horizontal content, I make sure to leave enough room at the top and bottom. Now you're probably wondering, how can I see myself using the rear camera? Well, I'm actually using the Shimbal CP5, which I highly recommend. That allows me to frame myself. Now you can also see that I'm using the DJI Mic Mini, which is connected to my iPhone, and it works great with the Pearla app. Now I'm also shooting manual. I'm using the 2x lens, and later on in post, I'll show you how to use this exact clip to properly edit it for horizontal as well as vertical content. As of making this video, the two apps I found that can shoot OpenGate on the iPhone are the OpenCam and Pearla. Unfortunately, the Blackmagic camera app doesn't support OpenGate at this time. Now, in terms of price, OpenGate has a free version, though it's limited. You can also choose between a subscription or a one-time payment. If you go with the monthly or yearly subscription, they include a 7-day trial, so you can test the full version before deciding. Pearla is a subscription-based only, but if you choose the yearly plan, they provide a 3-day free trial. So let's look at each in more detail. OpenCam gives you both auto and manual control, so you can adjust zoom, shutter speed, ISO, white balance, and focus. It records up to 4K in NTSC or PAL frame rates from 24 to 60 frames per second. You can also film in Apple ProRes log, which preserves more detail in highlights and shadows, gives you greater dynamic range, reduces digital sharpening for a more natural image, and makes color grading much easier in post. Now keep in mind that Apple Log is only supported on the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max and newer. In OpenCam, a limitation is that Apple ProRes Log is only supported in HD at up to 30 frames per second. However, you can always upscale the 1080p footage to 4K in certain editing softwares if you need higher resolution, and for most social media use, HD is already good enough. Now, once you shot your video in Apple Log, you can apply LUTs designed for Apple Log in your editing software to quickly achieve the look you want. Now, I've created my own premium mobile LUTs that you can check out. If you're interested, I'll leave a link below. Now, OpenCam supports lens switching even while recording. A handy feature is the quick overlay for 16:9 and 9:16, which helps with framing if you want to repurpose the 4:3 video for both horizontal and vertical formats. You can enable them individually or even both at the same time. OpenCam also offers offers stabilization modes from standard to cinematic, but these only work in HD. When filming in 4K, stabilization isn't available. Also keep in mind that stabilization crops in a bit. That's useful when filming handheld, but if you're filming on a tripod, it's better to turn it off so you can make use of the full resolution. The settings menu also includes extras like grid guides, advanced overlay, which I personally really like since they display all your camera settings at once for a clear overview. You got PAL frame rate for those filming in European countries, and bitrate, which I recommend setting to high. And for the ProRes codec, I usually go with ProRes LT. Now overall, OpenCam is built for simplicity with an intuitive interface while still offering some advanced controls for professional results. Now looking at Pearla, on the other hand, has a much more complex interface, clearly designed with professional users in mind. The manual controls go further than OpenCam, letting you adjust not only ISO, shutter speed, white balance, focus, and zoom, but also exposure value and tint. The viewfinder includes advanced assisting tools like waveform, audio meters, and storage indicators. Unlike OpenCam, which is video only, Pearla also supports photo capture, though here we'll focus just on video. Now in the settings, you'll find a wide range of advanced options similar to the Blackmagic camera app. You can adjust orientation, change shutter measurements, adjust stabilization, and even record internally or externally to an SSD. You're also not limited to only shooting in OpenGate. Pearla lets you shoot in standard formats like 16:9, 4K. For frame rates, 4K OpenGate supports up to 30 frames per second in Apple ProRes log, and you can also select from multiple codecs. Pearla also offers more advanced controls in terms of audio, and Pearla's grids and guides include more options than OpenCam with aspect ratios and grid types like the golden spiral in addition to the rule of thirds. Under monitoring, you'll also find tools like focus peaking, histogram, waveforms, and more. Now, one of the standout features is image processing and film emulation. In the image processing section, you can enable or disable dynamic tone mapping. When left on, it can cause shadows and highlights to shift mid-shot. Turning it off prevents those distracting changes, so for professional workflows, it's usually best to leave it off. You can also choose between different processing modes such as film emulation, custom profile, or log. On top of that, you get adjustment options like sharpness, grain, and grain size directly in the app, allowing you to fine-tune the look of your video. When choosing film emulation in the image processing mode, you'll find various film profiles under film emulation that replicate the look of different film stocks. Using these can save time in post by baking a look directly into your footage. You can also create and save custom emulation profiles for a consistent style across projects. When shooting in log, Pearla lets you pick different color spaces, including the ones like Sony S-Log3 and others, which is helpful for matching other cameras for a consistent look. Now, I didn't see any Apple log option. It might actually be Pearla's own version, Pearl Log, which they may have slightly tweaked to mimic it. It also offers Gamma Assist, which makes it easier to see what you're recording when shooting in log. And keep in mind that it doesn't bake in the look. This is just an assistant. It also supports LUT import if you have your own look that you prefer to use. Now, advanced anamorphic settings are also included with multiple de-squeeze factors, and you can even record anamorphic vertically. Pearl also supports HDMI out, so you can monitor your image on an external screen, and Bluetooth connection. As promised, I'm going to show you how to repurpose your video shot 4:3 OpenGate to use for horizontal as well as vertical content. For that, we're going to use LumaFusion, which is my go-to app for advanced edits on my iPhone. The first thing we're going to do is create our first project. So I'm going to tap the plus button, and the only thing we have to look out for is the aspect ratio here. So I'm going to select that, and we're going to start off creating our 16:9 landscape project. So I'm going to select the 16:9, and we're not going to worry about frame rate and color space as it will set the settings based on the first video clip added. So I'm going to select the plus icon. We're now going to add a video clip that I shot using the OpenCam app that saved it to my Photos app. So I'm going to select the videos, and we already have it up here. And now I'm going to select the in and out point. So I think from here to here, this looks good. And then I'm going to add it to my timeline. I'm going to zoom out a bit. Now you can already see that the video fits the 16:9 aspect ratio. It did that automatically when we double tap on the clip and head over to frame and fit. In the fit mode, you can see that it's set to fill. And when I set it to fit, we have our 4:3 aspect ratio. We're going to set it back to fill. Now from here on, I can adjust the framing, but before we do that, I'm going to add the rule of thirds by heading over here and enabling overlays. And in the grid section, I've chosen 3:3. You can see that we get the rule of third. I'm going to double tap on the clip again, and now I can start adjusting the framing. So I'm going to zoom in a bit so that we don't have the pull on the left in it. And this to me looks great. The next step would be color grading. So I'm going to head over to the color and effects. And since this was shot in Apple Log, I'm going to convert it to a Rec 709. And LumaFusion already has a built-in conversion LUT. So we're going to head over to this cubic icon, and then we're going to go down, and under the LUTs, you'll see Apple Log. Going to select that, and you can see it has been nicely converted. The next thing I'm going to add is a creative LUT, which will apply a look to our clip. And I'm going to use one of my premium mobile LUTs and select the blockbuster look. And this to me looks a bit too intense, so I'm going to adjust the blend and reduce it to around 40. You can also look at the before and after. I'm going to make further adjustments by heading to this paint and then selecting original. And I'm going to add a bit of contrast by moving this slider to the left, not too much. I think this looks good. I'm also going to lift the shadows a bit, so, and I'm going to add a bit of saturation, around 2, and I'm also going to add a bit of warmth by adding a bit of red and a bit of yellow. And this to me looks great. So if we toggle everything off, we first converted the Apple Log to Rec 709, then added a LUT from one of my premium mobile LUTs. And then we made some adjustments in the contrast, added some saturation and warmth. So now we can save this effect, and I'm going to name this Epic Preset. And then I'm going to select the star icon, and you can see we have our Epic Preset, which we'll later use for a 9:16 video. I'm going to turn off the overlay, double tap on it, and this is what we have. I think this looks great. To export this, I'm going to select this bottom icon here and then select movie. You can upload it to YouTube if you want, but we're going to save it now on our Photos app. And the resolution I set to 4K. Frame rate 25 frames per second, standard. Everything else I leave how it is, and then I select this top right icon to export it. So let's now create our 9:16 video by creating a new project, selecting the plus icon again, and in the aspect ratio, we're going to select 9:16 portrait. Hit the plus icon, and again, we're going to select our OpenCam clip. It already saved the in and out point that I want to use. Add it to the timeline, zoom out a bit, and it already fitted it to the project timeline. And you can see that it fits the aspect ratio of our project. Again, I can enable the overlay if I want to make any adjustments, but to me, this actually looks great. It's going to turn off the overlay. So the only thing we have to do now is apply our color preset. So make sure your clip is selected and head over down here. And you can see we have our Epic Preset. Yeah, and then from here on, you can export it, head over to movie, and then photos. I'm going to export the resolution to the highest, which is 4K, 25 frames per second, standard. Looks great, and there we go. And when we head to the Photos app where we exported the videos, we have our 16:9 and our 9:16 that we can upload to the proper social media platforms. While both OpenCam and Pearla can shoot OpenGate, the main difference is that OpenCam is more limited in features and designed for simplicity, while Pearla provides advanced controls and tools aimed at professional mobile filmmakers. If you need 4K 30 frames per second log OpenGate recording and tools like image processing, film emulation, log matching, and advanced monitoring at a professional level, Pearla will give you that. However, I'm not a big fan of subscription models, especially with the Blackmagic Camera app being free. You could also just wait until the Blackmagic Camera app adds an OpenGate feature. In fact, why doesn't Apple do that with their stock camera? Now, on the other hand, if you prefer a one-time payment option and want to shoot OpenGate, especially for social media, repurposing it to vertical and horizontal formats, then OpenCam is a great option, even if your iPhone doesn't support Apple Log. I also think they'll likely add more advanced features in the future as the app becomes more popular. So what do you think? Would you go for the simplicity of the OpenCam or the advanced feature of Pearla? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. If you're new to filming on your iPhone, be sure to check out this video right here on how to get started filming professionally with just a few simple tools. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care and see you the next time.